الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام.
Okay, we'll get started in a few seconds, inshallah. Okay, we'll get started in a few seconds, inshallah. Turn off yours. Huh? Okay, we'll get started in a few seconds, inshallah.
YouTube.
Oh yeah, I think it's Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, just give us a few seconds. We'll get started. Give some time to the other people to join us. Focus.
I'm in the virtual. Why you can see me?
So here I heard the pictures. You can co-host. You want to let them in?
Okay. Give me a second. I will get it.
Just muted the show. Assalamu alaikum, Sarah. Is there an echo? Is there an echo now? Or no?
No, better.
لا better الحمد لله.
Okay, alhamdulillah.
جزاكم الله خير.
Yeah. Okay. This. Assalamu alaikum. Can everybody see my screen? That's on Zoom. And everybody else here?
نعم.
Okay. Bismillah. Where's the F? طيب. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. جزاكم الله خيرا to all of you for joining us, both online and here. This is going to be our first session that we have together of Till We Change Ourselves, which is a character development program that we have put together, designed to go through certain modules and look at some characteristics that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam have mentioned to us in the Quran and in the Sunnah, and see how we could implement them into our lives bi'idhnillah. Before we get started, and before I give you a breakdown of this program, I just want to take a moment to let everyone here know that even though I am the one that is sitting here and talking, and whenever you think of this program, you're going to think of, Imam Fuad is the one that is giving it. I want to thank, the team that is behind this program. Without them, it wouldn't be possible. There's so many people that I could mention, but we'll just keep it to those that, alhamdulillah, have, strove for this program. Sister Fatima, Sister Khadija, dear brother Muhammad. They've worked really hard to first design the program, and there's others with them, and then to constantly really think how we can make this program better and better. So before we get started, inshallah, I just want to tell you what this is and what's really in store for you. Till We Change Ourselves is a program that comes from the Quran, the idea comes from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to change the condition of the people unless they themselves begin this change and they change. So when we take the step to change ourselves, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to make it easier for us and our condition is going to change. So the entire philosophy of this program is to implement this verse of the Quran into our lives and see how we can change some things about ourselves so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it easy for us to completely change the change. If you are looking for like the defining thing of this program, it is that you are going to constantly engage with yourself through activities, through journaling, through so many other things to see where you are and where you want to go and how you're going to get there. And so what you will realize is you're going to have a lot of activities that you have to do on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. Regularly, you'll see it. So when you see this, the entire purpose of it is that we want to slowly see the change. And the more that we do these small things, as the Prophet ﷺ said, that we're able to do it constantly, these would be the deeds that are most beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this program is going to be for this year. And this is the second year that we have this program. These are the modules, the characteristics, the akhlaq that we are going to be going through. As you can see, they're all up there. And majority of them, they're either between, we'll spend either 3 sessions on them, so 3 weeks for each of them, or we're going to spend up to 5 on some of these that are up here. The first one that we are going to be doing today and starting and continuing the next 2 weeks that we're going to be together, it is going to be Ikhlas. It is going to be sincerity. And you can see the way that they have been made. They are supposed to work alongside one another in the way that we develop ourselves. So inshallah, take a look here. I hope that every single one of you online here, you're excited. And these are, what we are going to be able to go through bi'idhnillah. Any questions on what I have said so far with the modules that are in front of you, with the introduction to the program before I move on? So actually, I forgot one more part. This is not a lecture that you are going to come to. The program is from 7 to 7:45, and you listen to me the entire time talking. Today, I'm the one that is beginning this talk just to introduce us to the program. But what's going to happen is you are going to do majority of the talking. I will, you could give me the first 10 minutes every single time that we meet, just to give an overview of this program. And the 10 minutes could happen in the beginning, it could happen in the middle, or it could happen at the end. The rest of the 30 minutes that we are together is going to be dedicated to you talking bi'idhnillah, and to you doing some type of reflection and sharing if you're able to bi'idhnillah. So this is how the most of the time it is going to go. At the end of it, we'll always give out some activities. The activities will always be one of 2 kinds. The first one will always be a dua. So the first activity we'll always have is adding or fully being aware of the du'as that will make that will make throughout the day and why we are making them. And then the next activity will be an activity that has been designed to promote in ourselves these characteristics that we want to be able to see bi'idhnillah. So this is just a brief outline for the program for those that are new and those that were here last year in our pilot program. This is the refresher for all of you, inshallah. Now, we said we're going to talk about Ikhlas. Actually, let me go back. My voice is getting tired of talking. I've talked for a while now. I want us to think about a story that we are all very familiar with. The story of the 3 people that were trapped inside of the cave, where there was a rainstorm outside and they ran into the cave, and then the rock closed the door, right? The entrance of the cave. So what ended up happening was each of them had to make a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to remember what was the thing that they did sincerely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that through that they would ask Allah to remove this rock. And I think we know the story. Each man, they said what they thought was the most purest of du'as, or the most purest of actions that they did, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removed the rocks. Now what I want everyone on Zoom to do, bi'idhnillah, this will be easier for them, it's I want you to send me a private message on Zoom of what that one deed would be for you if you are in that situation. So what would be the deed that you have done you think I had the most sincerity in? Send it privately. I will look at it and I will share with everybody else here. The rest of you, alhamdulillah, I see some of you have paper. I want you to, do you guys have extra pieces of paper or just iPads? You guys have extra pieces of paper? What? Khas. Okay. Would you be able to give one piece to everybody here? What I want you to do on this paper, don't write your name. Just write the deed, and then I'll come and I'll collect the deeds from you. And then we'll go to the next step. So for everybody that is on Zoom, actually, send me the private message. I will look it up on my phone. So I want you to send it in the Zoom. Is everybody clear? What deed would you do? With what deed would you seek intercession if you are in that situation? Do not write your name on it, just write the deed. So actually, before you send me for the people on Zoom, inshallah, before you send it to me, don't send it to the Mass Bay Area host, send it to my name, it's written in Arabic, send it to there, inshallah. So I'll change it to English, so Fahad Muhammad. Because I don't want to open it and everyone can see what you guys wrote here.
Can you repeat the question?
So
There are people who
that are joining? Okay. So the question is for the people that are joining Zoom, I want you to send me a private message to my on Zoom on the message. Write me a message that tells me one deed that you think you are most sincere in when you did it. And I see some of them already. I want you guys to be more specific. MashaAllah, these are nice ones. But I want you to actually say a deed like those three men said that allowed Allah to move the rock from them. Right. So I see some people, for example, they wrote, making istighfar and donating and so on. I want it to be, these are general deeds. I want it to be really specific one. Inshallah, I will not tell the name of the person that is sending it to me. Inshallah, don't. This is an exercise, and bi'idhnillah, your intentions are not going to be ruined or tainted by it. Allahu Akbar. And if it is too personal to where maybe the other person would get it, I see some of the messages here, then don't go into that much detail. Basically, I'm asking you to make it as vague as possible and as clear as possible. Somewhere in between, where the people in here won't know if you did something for them, or I will at least know, okay, this is a particular deed, inshallah. So we'll take is everybody else here now? Okay, yes, keep going. I'll give you guys 3 minutes, bismillah. It's 7:17 now. We'll go until 7:20. So you done? Oh, let me see it. So we have 2 minutes, inshallah. And just because more people have joined, actually, I will write it in the chat and pin it. That would be a lot easier, I think. Okay, I don't want to open those chats. We have 1 more minute, inshallah. Then I'll collect the papers here and then look at the messages on Zoom. Halas, it's 7:20. For those of you that want to keep writing, actually, we'll stop here. I'll get up, collect the remaining papers. So, what I'll do is, since the people on Zoom, they're unable to see you guys, and since no one sees the names, I will read some of their things. These ones, I'll have you guys read it, but not yours. I'll make sure you read somebody else's. So let's go through some of them. Someone wrote, there's someone here that had an opportunity to take revenge on someone and hurt them badly, but they gave it up for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah accept this from them. Someone wrote, there was someone that needed something, and they went out of their way to fulfill that need without the people knowing that this was the person that needed it. Another one, reading a book about Allah's name and attributes. So seeking knowledge, this was the time they felt the most sincere. Another one was when they remembered a good deed that they did to get them out of a similar situation. So that deed. And then there are some general ones like donations and istighfar and so on. Standing up for the oppressed and the sake of Allah's justice. Ya Allah, may Allah accept it. Actually, to make it easier, do you guys want me to read these? Rather than have you guys read it to me? I'll read it. I'll mix it up. So I actually have no idea who gave me these, but we'll start with Nillah. So someone said making wudu before sleeping every night and before traveling outside, feeding 2 orphans monthly. May Allah accept it. And may Allah keep it sincere. Someone said praying 2 rak'ahs of Qiyam al-Layl with a heart that is khashi'ah. May Allah accept it and increase us in it. Someone wrote, Ya Allah, lent somebody some money, a friend, and they did not ask for it back until they were ready to pay it. May Allah accept it. Being the supporter, caretaker of my mother in her final years. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant her Jannat al-Firdaus al-A'la. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala widen her grave, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it. Tayyib. Allahu Akbar. I don't eat from the candy belonging to my children if we are not agreeing on it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us this type of sincerity. Ya Allah. Oh, subhanallah. Huh? Ya Allah. It said, not eating the candy of the children unless we agreed on it. Wallahi, when you know, when we have children, we have this mindset of they're my children and everything that they have belongs to me, which we could make a case for. But being so aware that candy, I'm not going to take a single piece of it. Like I know this is theirs. And even though I probably was the one that bought it for them, or I was the one that brought it, but knowing that this is theirs and I'm going to leave it, Ya Allah, may Allah accept it. Subhanallah. So the last one, donating to orphanages and food programs overseas anonymously, constantly, as much as I can. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from those that help the people that are in need. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us in our efforts. Jazakumullah khairah to every single one of you for sharing these things. I know that these are personal things, and I hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't decrease the ajr that He has promised you, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase it. Now, the reason I asked every single one of us to write this down, it is for us to really see that we understand out of all of the deeds that we do deeds every single day. Not a single person put things like praying 5 times a day. No one wrote things like, reading the Quran and things like that. Because we know for ourselves there are some deeds that feel extra special to us, that we remember. I'll tell you a story. In all of my life, the time that I felt that I was the most sincere in dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I wish that this was not the case, it was when I was coming back from Egypt. When I was coming back from Egypt, I had to get on a flight that I was not prepared to get on. And eventually I ended up in Washington, D.C. In Washington, D.C., I had to find a way to get a ticket to Seattle. I have no money, I have no bags, but the ticket was going to be covered by the government. So what ended up happening was I went to the ticket, the ticket place, and they gave me a ticket to go to Seattle. And the ticket was going to be 8 hours from the time that they gave it to. And there was no other available flights to Seattle. This is in 2013, no cell phone. I'm coming, I have some guineas in my pocket. This is all I have. Basically, like, I can't do anything with it. So then I realized, okay, there's 8 hours. It's okay. I'm in America. I'm in the airport. The airport is very nice. I'm going to be okay. After the first hour, I realized I just left. It was Ramadan. I was fasting. I didn't break my fast. Now I'm starving. It's been like 16-hour flight. So I'm like, okay, I need to figure out something about food. So what ends up happening is no money. So I go to the food court. I sit at the food court and I say, Ya Allah, I just need food. If I'm able to get food, there's nothing else that I need. And when you're in that desperation, you begin to make oaths to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That once the first time that you say, Ya Allah, grant me food, the food is not coming, you're like, if you do this for me, I'm going to do this. So I'm sitting there, I'm thinking of what I could do. I was like, it's Ramadan, I'm going to spend the last 10 nights in i'tikaf. If Ya Allah, if I can somehow get food. That doesn't work. And I keep going. And then I realized, you know what? There's nothing that I can offer Allah for Him to give me anything. So I said, Ya Allah, you are my Lord. Take care of my needs. And out of all of the du'as I've made in my entire life, this is when I felt the most sincere in the du'a. And then all of a sudden, a family comes and sits next to me. They had just ordered burritos. They were Mexican. And they're talking about what's in the bag. And they're like, hey, there is an extra veggie burrito that is here. Who ordered it? I was like, Ya Allah, you brought it this close to me. Ya Allah, can I get it? So I'm making this dua and I'm going. The father turns to me and is like, hey, we have an extra burrito. Would you like one? And inside I'm like screaming, yes, I really do. But I have to be like, I'll take it if you guys don't need it. And he says, yes, go ahead here, take it. So while I'm eating the burrito, I realize I have a bigger worry, which is what am I going to do for the next 7 hours? So then I begin making dua. And wallahi, the first thing that I said is, Ya Allah, I know I said I won't ask for anything else, but I need to get home. I need to get home. And I kept making this dua over and over and over and over. And then an hour later, the flight that was, leaving like 4 hours before my flight, they're like, is there anyone that is on standby that wants to get on this flight to Seattle? I was like, I'm not on standby, but I have a ticket. Maybe they'll let me go early. So I rushed to the gate. The family that gave me the food, they're going to get on this flight with me. Same flight. And I see them as I get on there. I'm like, I wanted to go. I get on the flight. Then when the flight starts, I'm like, my family doesn't know I'm coming. How am I going to be able to get home? I've traveled all this long and I'm here. How am I going to be able to get home? So what ends up happening, again, Ya Allah, I told you I'm not going to ask for anything. You fulfill the two most needs that I had, but find a way for me to go home. And wallahi, as soon as I got off the airplane, I went out of, where you go claim baggage. I had no baggage. I go and I just see my father in the airport. I'm like, what are you doing here? He's like, I don't know. I just felt I needed to go to the airport. No clue that I was coming. Like I knew I had to be here. So my father took me home. Now, when I think of sincerity, like in dua and in these type of things, I think back to that moment. That if you truly are, like if you have sincerity, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to fulfill the needs that you have. Now, what does ikhlas mean? What does sincerity even mean? Here, you have, inshallah, these two definitions. Ikhlas, linguistically, it means to purify or to remove impurities from something and to distinguish it from things that have impurity. So when you have something that is khalis, like this is as pure as it can be. There's nothing from the outside that is on there. Yahya ibn Mu'adh, and here he gives not the linguistic meaning, but the Shar'i definition of it. He says that it is to filter the actions from every flaw, just as milk is filtered out from between blood and dung. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us in Surah Nahl, وَإِنَّ لَكُمْ فِي الْأَنْعَامِ لَعِبْرَةً نُسْقِيكُم مِّمَّا فِي بُطُونِهِ مِن بَيْنِ فَرْثٍ وَدَمٍ لَبَنًا خَالِصًا, like pure milk that is coming from the place where, like, it's in this mixture where there's blood and there's dung, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is purifying it from it. So linguistically, like this is the linguistic meaning here of purifying it from impurities. What does it mean for us here until we change ourselves? Ikhlas, it means that you remove all of the impurities that you could have in your action towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anything that you do for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you do it without associating with it being for nobody else except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is why one of the definitions that Ibn Abd al-Salam, Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam gave, he said, Ikhlas, it is that you do an action. The person that is supposed to be doing actions, the mukallaf, he does it like an obedience for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only. Not doing it because he wants the people to say, look at how amazing he is, for the people to venerate him for the actions that he's doing, no matter if it's the long standing in salah, the reading of the Quran, the taking care of the children, whatever it might be. So you're not seeking this reward from the people, nor are you looking, doing it so that you could be put down. Like you could humble yourselves in front of the people for this. On top of that, you don't get any religious benefits from doing these actions, nor do you seek worldly gains from doing these actions. You are doing these purely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, a better definition is the one that we put there last, which is, the perfect example. It is al-ikhlas wa istawa a'mal al-'abd. It is to make similar. Like if you look at the actions of the servant, if you look at his deeds that he does, fi al-zahiri wal-batin, whether he's in private or he's in public, his deeds are exactly the same. The way that he does the deeds, the salah that he prays in the masjid or the salah that he prays in front of his friends, if you were to compare it to the salah that he does himself in his house when nobody's watching, or the reading of the Quran, or whatever action it might be, it is the same. Not only that, it could be the zahir, like outside, how is my salah? How do people look at me? And inside, while I am doing this action, how is it? This is really one of the the pillars of this deen. We know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us, وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ حُنَفَاءَ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He did not command us except for us to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being sincere to Allah only. So today, what we are focusing on is improving our sincerity with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, having ikhlas with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Over the next 2 weeks, we'll go into ikhlas with other subcategories that we're going to be going through. So what does it mean to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with only ikhlas? And why should you do it? What is the purpose of you doing it? Now, inshallah, I want someone to read from this line from here for us. وَمَا تَجْزَوْنَ. Who wants to read? Muhammad. Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وما تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إلا عباد الله المخلصين أولئك لهم رزق معلوم فواكه وهم مكرمون في جنات النعيم على سرر متقابلين يطاف عليهم بكأس من معين بيضاء لذة للشاربين لا فيها غول ولا هم عنها ينزفون وعندهم قاصرات الطرف عين كأنهن بيض.
جزاك الله خير. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless the Quran. Bismillah, who wants to read the English for us from right here? And you will not be recompensed. Who wants to read? Bismillah. I need a volunteer, even from Zoom, who wants to read? I can see. I need someone to read this English. The last 2 bullet points. We have all these people, no one wants to volunteer. Don't be shy, inshallah. Or I won't move on until I get someone to read.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam to the Read it for us, inshallah.
And he will not be recompensed except for what he used to, but not the chosen servants of Allah. Those will have a provision determined, fruits run, and they will be honored in gardens of pleasure, on thrones facing one another. They'll be circulated among them cup of wine from the flowing spring, white and delicious to the drinkers.
Allah Akbar. Jazakallah khair. So this is the reason we want to strive for ikhlas. It is because these rewards that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised the people of Jannah, and the people that He has promised these blessings to, it is the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that are mukhlisin, that are sincere in the actions that they do. Now, another benefit that you could get from being from amongst the people with ikhlas, it is what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says in a hadith that is found in the Sunan of An-Nasa'i, where he says, إِنَّمَا يُنْصِرُ اللَّهُ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives victory to this nation, بِضَعِيفِهَا, by those that are weak from amongst them, بِدَعْوَتِهِمْ, with the du'as that they are going to make, وَصَلَاتِهِمْ, with the prayers that they pray, وَإِخْلَاصِهِمْ, and with the sincerity that they do, the two above, the two stated actions, and every single other thing that they do, because of how sincere that they are. Right? This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses to determine if we are going to be given victory. How are those people in their ibadah? And we need to be from those that are mukhlisin. On top of this, we see many examples, many of the benefits that are going to be stored for the people of ikhlas. One of them being the hadith that we hear all of the time when the people ask us to give money. They tell you that if you donate, you are going to be from those that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to shade on the day that there is no shade except His shade. Now, it's, in that moment, you have so many things telling you what you should be doing. You have first your own conscience that speaks to you and says, maybe comes and says, how much am I able to give? If I give, am I giving to the people? Am I sincerely doing this for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Am I going to be in the group that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam described as given with the right hand in such a manner that even the left hand does not know? Or like all of these questions are going to come. But if you're able to do that, you're going to be shaded on the Day of Judgment. The last hadith that we have here and that's going to be for us tonight, bi'idhnillah. It is Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he goes to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and he asks him, who's going to be the happiest person, the luckiest person by gaining your intercession on the Day of Judgment? So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he tells him that, I did not think no one will ask me this except you, because of how you strive. And here it says the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, like how you strive in learning the sunnah from the Prophet sallallahu. So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam tells him, the answer to his question, the one that is going to be most happiest with my intercession on the Day of Judgment, it is the person that says La ilaha illallah. This is what? This is the shahada. We say this many times. But the one that is able to do it, خالصا من قلبه أو نفسه, the one that sincerely he does it from his heart, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make him happy on the Day of Judgment with the intercession of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Inshallah, this is all I have as far as information for this session. Now, we came into this clearly by, what you guys have wrote to me, what you guys wrote here, the people that are here, that we understand what Ikhlas means. Now, how can we improve on this? How can we make Ikhlas better? So I told you guys in the beginning, we will always have a dua that we are going to be doing. So the first activity, bi'idhnillah, and actually what I want everyone to do, if you're not in the group chat, the WhatsApp group chat, make sure that you scan this code and you join, because tomorrow, all of this is going to be sent, like the du'as and the activities will be sent there. You can come and scan this after we finish this up, inshallah. So the first thing is that you are going to recite this dua at least once a day. And this is the dua of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, where he says, Ya Allah, allow all of my actions to be righteous, and allow them all to be done solely for your sake. And do not make a share of it. Don't give any share of it, or let the people have any share in my actions. Meaning that they're completely done for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the first dua that we're going to be starting this module with, bi'idhnillah. We want you to say it at least once a day. Whether you do it in the morning or whether you do it at night or in the middle of the day, that is up to you. This is the first activity, bi'idhnillah. The next activity is, we have 3 of them, but I want everyone not to focus on the number, and just to see one of these things that automatically stick out to you. The first thing, journaling. Bi'idhnillah, next week we are going to have the journals for this class, for this sessions that we have, where you'll be able to write all of these things down. For this week, what I want you to do is think, and you only have to do this once. Make some time from today until next Wednesday, bi'idhnillah, where you maybe take 10, 15 minutes, and you answer these 3 questions. The first thing is really look at you and your actions and ikhlas. How sincere are you? Is there any attempts to make your actions more sincere? Are there things that you notice that tell you that you're not being sincere? Write those things down for yourself. You don't have to share this with anybody yet. And then also write really some actions that it's easy for you to be sincere in, and some that they're hard for you to, like, you find difficult in being sincere with them. On top of that, I want you to set goals. It doesn't have to be 3. It could be 1, it could be 5. But 3s would be the number that you would aim for. But even if you just set 1 for yourself, that when you think about being more sincere, what is it that you want to accomplish 2 weeks from now, 2 weeks from now when we come together? Where do you want to see yourself? Right? And this would be similar for all of the modules that we go through, where the first module we're going to be having this activity of journaling oneself and taking the time to write down. For those of you that don't want to write, and alhamdulillah, technology has advanced very far, and you want to just record a video for yourself, this is also an option, or record a voice note for yourself. This is also an option for you. Secondly, the other activity that I want you to do. So it says 2 and 3. In reality, these are just suggestions. The first one is just do a good deed to others anonymously. One of the things that makes it easier to have ikhlas is doing things anonymously, because it removes you wanting to have some type of praise from the work that you're doing. So these are some that we have wrote down, just suggestions. Whether it's you bring, water here to the masjid, or you, like, whoever it is you go, you just anonymously you go and you do it, or you help a family in need, or you help someone that you know in need without you knowing, or without them knowing that you are the one that is doing it. So doing any good deed to help other people anonymously. This is the second activity. Or if doing it, like, you don't want to start with doing for other people, I want you to think about things, actions, ibadah that you could start, that you could be sincere in, and you will try to do this without telling anybody. Whether it is fasting certain days, whether it's 3 days out of the month, 1 day out of the month, 8 days when you do Mondays and Thursdays, and just see if you could be sincere and like build your ikhlas in this, and you make this plan for yourself that this is what I want to do, and you continue with it. Or whether it's you want to dedicate a certain time. We're only, I think, about 2 months away from the month of Ramadan, and see if, for the next 2 months, I want to dedicate 30 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, whatever it is, to the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or donating anonymously. All of these are just suggestions. But do you guys get the idea of the activities? Especially these 2 ones? Everybody here gets, it's clear? Right. For everybody on Zoom, is it clear? I would take everyone's silence as an approval. Before we finish, inshallah, this will always end at 7:45, but today I'll take 1 extra minute. I feel my voice hurts from talking now, right? I'm tired of talking. Inshallah, I will let it slide for this week. Next week, we're going to have more engagement from the people online and from you that are sitting here, bi'idhnillah. Can we agree to that? You guys will be more confident next week, bi'idhnillah? And you can talk. Jazakumullah khairan. And for the people on Zoom, Jazakallah khair for the thumbs up. So, inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us for our shortcomings. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to benefit from this program. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it impactful. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward all of those that work tirelessly, very hard on this program. Behind the scenes, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it things that they do sincerely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Jazakumullah khairan. Sallallahu wa sallam ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam. Jazakallah.